There's not too many other growing areas around as nice as Wisconsin. It's a very, very popular area for growing cranberries and has been since the 1800s. If you have a good area where it gets cold at night, especially in the fall and the winter, and you have an adequate amount of sand and water to keep them irrigated, the cranberries, they thrive in that kind of condition. Since 1907, my family's been growing cranberries in the Midwest, holding their own against some of the biggest names in fruit and produce. Growers who cared for their land and harvested good fruit for good health. And now my family is responsible for 1/3 of the fresh cranberries in the whole world. Hi, I'm Ray Habelman. So we're 4th generation cranberry growers. I consider myself very lucky. I did go to college and considered not coming back to the marsh for a while, but after living in a big city for 5 years, there was no question I was going to come back and grow cranberries.
I spent 20 years at Northland. We became a publicly traded company. In 2006, the company was broken up into various pieces, and my wife Nora and I had the opportunity to purchase one small piece of that, and that was the property here in Three Lakes. We grow 189 acres of cranberries, and we do so organically, we do so sustainably. When you're talking about growing something organic, we're trying to tweak an ecosystem to give us the most cranberries that it can. And that's an incredible challenge.
We want to focus on having a good impact on the environment, not a bad impact. We use the most efficient irrigation systems available, so we use very little water. The water we do use, we can recover, so we're not stressing the water systems around the area. We hire professional consultants to help us with our applications and put on the least amount of nutrients and fertilizer as we can and still have a healthy crop. The same thing applies to pesticides. We're really getting away from any of the dangerous pesticides, and almost everything we use now is very safe for the environment. It just feels good having a positive impact on the environment. The fish like to use the water, and the geese and the ducks land in the lake.
Cranberries are not grown in water. Everybody thinks that they're grown in water. They're not grown in water. They actually are harvested in water.
Think of the cranberry as a perennial woody plant that grows very low to the ground, somewhat like a strawberry. We flood the bogs in order to bring water up to cover those vines. When we get this first Arctic cold blast, usually in December, that'll freeze right into the vines, and that's how the vines spend their winter months. In the spring, when that ice starts to melt, then we're trying to draw the frost out of the ground. The vines are dormant during the winter. The bright green leaves have turned to a maroon during the harvest, but they start to green up again. The blossoms come late June, early July. During that time, we're bringing out pollinators, both bumblebees and honeybees, and we rely on our natural pollinators. And that process gives us the new formed fruit in late July, which then takes the rest of the summer to size up and color up in the fall.
That cranberries are turning ripe when they start turning red. As you can see here, they have a nice red blush to them. And the seeds on the inside will start turning brown. That's how you know that the cranberry is ripe and ready for harvest. If we were growing processed cranberries, we would beat the cranberry off the vine with a machine that's called a beater. Or we would drag a harrow behind us and it just pops the berry off the vine. That is far too abusive for us, being fresh cranberry growers. So we use a much smaller machine, and it's very delicate.
Machine that harvests the fresh fruit is like a comb through the leaves, and they actually picks the berries, puts them gently onto a roller, and they're put into a bowl. Because we pack them here, we take a lot of care in how we handle them, and a lot of effort is put into keeping them safe and healthy before we ship them away from us.
First step of the process is we bounce test the cranberry. A good cranberry will bounce, a bad berry does not. So the bad berries filter through this very old technique and get taken out of the line. And the good berries continue onward. Then we also sort them for color. The green and white berries we take out. Even though they're still good and they taste fine, we take them out so you don't see them in your bag. Quality here, that is the most important thing when you're trying to sell a fresh cranberry. We don't pack them until we get an order in our hand. When we get a customer order, that's when we start up these machines. We don't pack them until the customer wants them. And then once we have them packed, they're out the door.
Fresh cranberries only represent 5% of the cranberry industry, but don't be mistaken, it's the healthiest 5% of the industry. Most people don't know that a lot of juice and sweetened or dried cranberry products actually contain very little cranberry content. That's why incorporating whole fresh cranberries into your diet throughout the year is so important for those of you in pursuit of vitamins and antioxidants.
We really wanted to grow something that was good for people, and it was good for the land on which we were growing it.
It just makes you feel like you're, really contributing to society when you can grow something so healthy and just tastes good, in my opinion.
Being able to work with Naturipe has allowed us to grow as a family business in a company and allow us to put more of our cranberries on the shelves across the country.
Working with Naturipe has been just wonderful. They give us marketing power that we wouldn't have on our own. Are really neat with their packaging, very innovative. So I knew it'd be a good partner to work with.
When we have somebody like Naturipe that is excited about what we're doing, that's very rewarding for us.
We truly enjoy what we're doing, and we hope that that comes through.